I am happy in my unhappiness. I know how to be happy. I know how to experience happiness. I know to enjoy it. And I'm happy about that. But I'm also happy that I would not describe myself or my life as a happy life or a person. And I've had an amazing, miraculous set of events in my life. Envious love and adventures. And again, I know how to be happy. And I like being happy. But overall, there's always a theme. There's always a frequency of being discontent. I came to terms with this years ago, in my youth even, because I realized that necessity is the mother of invention, that unhappiness is a motivator to make us seek something more beyond ourselves. And as I began to realize this truth of life, I also simultaneously became more unhappy with the world and the people in it who are just seeking for happiness. They want shortcuts. They just want easy things. They want to just be content, at peace. And I get that. Life's a bitch. Who wouldn't want it to be at peace in many ways? But what they fail to do then is seek something deeper and bigger. Happiness is very transitory and temporary. It doesn't last. It can always be better. I had two, I've had many major events in my life, paradigm shift, cathartic events, milestones, we might call them, many of them, some more significant than others, as we all do. One of them I'm going to share right now from my Project Addiction book, The Complete Guide to Using, Abusing, and Recovering from Drugs and Behaviors. Now, the titles are always very carefully selected. When I say The Complete Guide to Using, Abusing, and Recovering, this book will teach you how to abuse drugs, detailed, step by step, how to abuse drugs, how to do it. I don't leave anything out. Then it teaches you, of course, how to use and abuse and also to recover. So I want to share. I just saw a typo on my published and award-winning book here. Boy, is that irritating. Well, that's a big typo too. Chapter chapter whatever, somewhat early on in part one of it, the decision to quit, rock bottom. A moment of objective clarity. I began doing drugs when I was 13, pot and alcohol. By 15, I was taking acid and a few pills and some coke. By 17, I was injecting cocaine and heroin, speedball, cocaine mixed with heroin. And by 18, shooting coke and speed was pretty regular. By 20, it was an obsession, ruining my life more than I thought it could or would. I used off and on, never getting more than a month clean at a time for the next 10 years. At 28 years old, I became a father. By the time my new son was 8 months old, I was working construction and living in a one-room apartment. I was separated from my wife at 6 months, who was also severely dysfunctional, violent, drunk, etc. I was miserable again, but not more than usual. I was tired of dope and the patterns of it, but it didn't seem more extraordinary than any other times I'd been miserable from dope. It was always horrible until I was goofing off with my baby son, who was lying on the floor getting changed and playing patty cake to get attention. I looked at his hand, so tiny. I compared it to my own hand, which was so much larger. It crossed my mind that no matter what I did, his little hand was going to grow, that his hand would get large like mine someday, and he was going to get older. And much like I had done with my own father, he was probably going to look up to me no matter who or what I was. He was going to be like me. And who and what am I asked. And then the world caved in. I had a moment of objective clarity, of total objectivity. I saw myself as I truly was, a dope fiend. Not a father, not an employee, not a brother or a son or a friend, a dope fiend. Nothing more, nothing less. This realization was not intellectual. It was emotional and went through to the core of my soul. In that instant, I saw how my son would see me if he were older and capable of perceiving me honestly and clearly. How this innocent, pure, and simple boy would actually see me if he were cognizant and aware. He would see the truth that I was a dope fiend and I was ashamed. I didn't just feel ashamed, I became shame. I was nothing but shame. In that instant, I truly saw that my whole life was a lie and had become a single denial mechanism. I was nothing good and never had been anything good. Over the next few hours, all my denial disintegrated. I saw my past, my present, and was so disgusted I felt I could not go on. I wanted to die. I wanted to do more than die. I wanted to never have existed in the first place. I was in agony as I was forced to continue to breathe in and out and live every moment hating myself and feeling more and more ashamed. I do not know what the future held. I was not hopeful. I did not want a future or present either. I did not decide to quit drugs because I had hope for a better sober life. I had to quit drugs because I could not exist in another moment the way that I was. I did not lose a house or a job or my child. I simply had a moment of clarity, a moment of complete objective truth, and was horrified by what I saw. My spirit was crushed, and who I was had to die. In those moments, I was dying and also being reborn, and birth is violent and messy. I would love to tell you that the ensuing days became more positive and hopeful, more filled with this is the first day of the rest of my life optimism, but it wasn't. The next 3 months were pure agony and isolation. I literally sobbed myself to sleep every night, wishing and praying to never wake up. The next 3 months were unbearably lonely and depressing. Sobriety was not fun. I hated sobriety. I just hated being an addict even more. That's how I got through each day. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I only knew with intense hatred what I no longer could be. I want to repeat that. That's pretty much says a lot. I did not know what I wanted to be. I only knew with intense hatred what I no longer could be. Physical suicide was not an option. I somehow intuited that suicide would be worse. I would probably botch it up and end up vegetative instead of dead. Just my luck. I figured I'd just will myself to die, sort of give up the ghost and just stop caring enough to even draw a breath, go to sleep and never wake up. There is always a contradictory nature to the truth. As absolute as the rock bottom experience it's simply not a cure. I bet there are desperate people reading the rock bottom literature wishing here there was a rock bottom pill to take. They're saying, I'll suffer. That's okay, because I need to stop. There are two contradictions to this that can be hard to convey. One, be careful what you wish for. Some people do not survive the rock bottom experience. I said there was only one way left to go and it was up, but that's not entirely accurate. There's also death. Many people choose this option. As one guy told me about his rock bottom, I couldn't go on. I knew I was to be enslaved forever, that I was owned by the heroin and could never break free. So I went into the bathroom while my parents slept and shot up a huge hit and didn't kill me. So I did another. And it didn't kill me. So I did another. I wanted and was prepared to die and let it win since it already had. I woke up 2 days later in the hospital. This addict was saved and is clean to this day, but many rock bottoms do not survive to tell their story. It is a fine line, to be sure. 43,000 OD deaths in 2012 in the United States alone. Rock bottom is something that happens to many addicts, but it is not something you can consciously choose to experience. Yes, I've been instrumental in facilitating many rock bottom realizations, but this takes caution, experience, knowledge, care, and so many other factors that few should attempt to facilitate it. It is risky and dangerous, and if it goes wrong, the result can be death. 2, it is not a permanent realization. As the incurable and permanent disorder of addiction is a lifelong pathology. It took over 10 years for me to relapse after my rock bottom, but I did indeed relapse. Not only did I use again after the visceral absolute experience of rock bottom, but I also repeated my rock bottom experience as a result. I experienced the rock bottom realization experience slightly less intensely and definitely for less time, but it was proportionate to the relapse. I had gone 10 years clean and revisited drugs again in a different way. My gold medal goal was now to go 11 years. These two contradictions need to be a part of the rock bottom knowledge. Don't forget them. We're never safe. Now, hold on one second. I'm going to get to another page here for later. There we go. This is a very personal and I feel useful example. Useful because I saw how this story inspired many people that I worked with. I didn't dole that out all the time. The clients knew me well, and we had a very special bond with. I always shared my personal stories that motivated and inspired them more than anything else. That's kind of forbidden in the counseling realm. You don't share your personal stuff. I relied on it. People wanted this. They didn't want something from a book. They wanted my experience. That's why they came to me. I walked the walk, didn't just talk the talk. That's what made everything different. Same thing with my spiritual growth. And as I share within the portal, I basically the spiritual rock bottom. I have the book in front of me right now. I can't think of the chapter name of it, where I basically was already very well adept in mysticism, Western paths, all of them, had Kundalini events, everything that people envy and strive for. I was experiencing and I was good at them. And yet I felt completely unsatisfied. No matter what I did, it wasn't complete. It reminded me of when the Buddha was in the forest working with the yogis prior to his trip to Gaia to become enlightened under the Bodhi tree. He had mastered all of the paths of yoga, and it wasn't enough. And when his masters went to him and said, we can't teach you anything else. You've surpassed us. He said, it's not enough. I need something bigger, something more, something that's complete, that's forever. He was able to go days into samadhi and not eat. He was withered away. And yet it wasn't enough. He was discontent. He was unhappy, and it motivated him to do something more, search for a biggest truth. My spiritual rock bottom conveyed within the portal was just that. In my own micro version, I'd had enough. And I was virtually threatening God and saying, you know what? I'm sick and tired of this shit. I don't want peace. I don't want white light. I don't want burning bush. I want to see your face. And that's it. Nothing less. I want to meet you one-on-one. And if you can't do that, then I'm out. I'm done. And then, of course, this was the catalyst of the event that soon after, like right after, brought me to meet my Swami teacher and led me to my guru. The other one conveyed within the portal is Unhappy Accidents, where I talk about a little backstory. The fact that I had become successful. I got off of dope, was a good father, had a house, everything was going great. And I once again felt very discontent. I had several girlfriends. None of them knew about that. That was my vice. And I was pretty happy with that. I mean, I felt kind of guilty and shitty. I mean, I'd go through these periods where I was like, I'm a piece of crap because I'm a liar and a cheater. But generally and overall, I was like, yeah, I'm a liar and a cheater. Oh, well. I was enjoying things to some extent. But I wasn't a good person. And once again, kind of out of nowhere, it just came crushing on me. I suddenly went from being very happy with seeing 2, 3 women at a time to almost overnight. I wanted something intimate and personal, something that was a true connection. And I realized I'm not worthy of that. What stable, good woman in their right mind would have anything to do with me? Even if they don't know, bottom line is I'm not worthy of being involved with a good person. And I was involved with some very nice women. Very nice. Way better than me. And so once again, I took like a private personal vow, my rock bottom, romantic rock bottom moment. I vowed that I would not cheat or lie anymore. Sounds good. But in that same moment, I realized, oh my God, if I'm not lying and cheating, I don't even know who and what I am. I don't know how to do that. I literally don't know how. Similar to, I don't know, doing electrical wiring on a city grid. I just don't know how. I had no experience with this. I heard of it, but I had zero experience of my own. So how was I going to be honest and not cheat and lie in relationships? I had no clue. It was like speaking Mandarin Chinese for me. And I felt lost, crushed. I'm like, I'm screwed. Like, no one's ever going to want me. I'm never going to have anybody good. And if I'm not ever going to lie and cheat anymore, and the thing is, I vowed to never be in a relationship again until I wasn't going to lie and cheat. And when I made that vow, I was like, you're screwed. You're gonna be single forever because you're never going to be able to be honest and true. You never have been. You don't know what that is. I went through several months of self-loathing, isolation, loneliness, much like I did with getting off of drugs. I just sucked it up, realized couldn't trust myself to go out and see anybody. So I isolated. I did this for several months, never feeling that I was ever going to be able to make it and be worthy. Didn't even know how. And sure enough, as told in the story, it was right around that time that I had that little happy accident where I met my soulmate. I have pretty mixed emotions about it now. Yes, it was a good thing, but of course, we all want a happy ending, and it wasn't a happy ending overall. I like happy endings as much of a cynic as I am. And that leads me to another perspective. We talk about optimists and pessimists and so-called realists, which is the catch-all term for people that just basically when you're a realist, people really are generally pessimistic when they're using the term realist. Indeed, realism certainly does make you see the world the way it really is, and that's going to be some pessimistic thoughts. That's going to be pretty negative because the world's a pretty shitty place. It is generally, it has beautiful things. And as I've been saying lately, I used to say humanity, I love its people I can't stand. Now it's the opposite. People I like well enough when I get to know them. Humanity I can't stand. So the unhappiness that we experience, whether it's socially, politically, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all of the above, all of them, all the areas and categories of our life. When we are unhappy, we are motivated to change it. And the more severe the unhappiness, the more desperate we become and the more action we're willing to take, more we're willing to risk and sacrifice. Some people don't. Some people won't risk or sacrifice anything. They feel defeated. As a counselor, my role has always been to try to motivate them and get them in touch to try to change things. There are no guarantees. In my rock bottom analysis, what I realized is that, again, it wasn't hey, this is the first day of the rest of your life kind of episode at all. It was, I'm screwed. I don't even know how to be a good person. I don't know anything but being a dope fiend. I don't know anything. I did not imagine a better life. I was absolutely certain that, again, sobriety sucked. It was going to be an entire life of frustration and willpower. And I was like, should I rather be on drugs? I see people at 12-step meetings, like, I don't want to be like them. It's like a cult. None of these people are happy at all. They're all miserable. They get together and talk about how miserable they are all in a room together and breed on it. And I couldn't go to those. I literally was thinking like, I'd rather stay on drugs because that's misery. Everything you've achieved in your life was motivated by being unhappy, by having desire. As the Buddha taught, one of the noble truths, the first one is life is suffering. The cause of suffering is desiring. We desire, therefore we're unhappy. So therefore, to end suffering, you must end desiring. To say easier said than done is an understatement. We are desire machines. We cannot stop desiring. Only illumination, enlightenment, can allow you to stop desiring. A total, complete shift and expansion of your consciousness and spirit is the only thing that can make you stop desiring. So as I delved into these things, my conclusion was if I can't stop desiring, and I need to stop desiring in order to be happy, to be fulfilled, content, enlightened, I'm going to desire that. I'm going to desire enlightenment. In the spiritual context, this should be and can be and needs to be your only desire. Everything else is just filler. Everything you've achieved, everything that you attained, everything that you experienced that you feel is rewarding and fulfilling was because you had a desire. The great epiphany in my addiction work was realizing to not teach people to not desire, but to create and establish a bigger desire. As much as I desired drugs and the drug life that I'd had, I did desire something more back then. Love. I loved my son. I desired being a good father. I desired his admiration, his respect, his affection, and I want to be worthy of it. I didn't just want to have it because, as I said in that rock bottom moment, as an infant, he was giving me that carte blanche. No, not a problem. But as he got older, I was going to have to be worthy of that. Let me tell you, my son's a tough critic. I do have to be worthy of his love and respect. Otherwise, I'm not going to get it. And vice versa. I don't give it out to anybody. It's because you're bloodly related or whatever. No, you got to earn it. So my bigger desire was his affection. And the only way to get it was to be sincere. Another bigger desire was romance and love. I wanted to be connected with somebody in life romantically. And I was not going to be worthy of that. No, somebody worthwhile was going to accept me if I was on dope. Trust me, I had a lot of girlfriends when I was back on dope. But let me tell you, the caliber and the quality and quantity of what you get when you're living that life, not very top tier. And again, I was an anomaly. The women I was involved with were generally very attractive, pretty intelligent, not on dope because I didn't want to go out with dope fiends. Who would do that? What kind of maniac would do that? So my desires, I realized that what I needed in life was not to stop desiring, because I can't do that, but to shift my desires to things that are good and healthy. Since I can't stop desiring, I need to establish desires that are good for me. Addiction is lifelong, and I'm not an addict. Not really. I have no tendencies toward drugs. None. I've been clean a long time. And I've grown spiritually in so many ways that I literally just don't have the attachment. Part of that's because of being hit in the face by a truck. I got rewired. So I don't recommend that recovery path. Like I said, rock bottom, many times you don't live through it. But again, as I taught people the bigger desire, if I'm going to be an addict, then why not be addicted to fatherhood? Not just being a parent, but being a good parent. Why not be addicted to being a good partner, love and romance and passion? Why not be addicted to my health and fitness? Why not be addicted to my profession and my career, which back then was contracting? Began my contracting business. Since I couldn't stop desiring or have addictive tendencies, because I'm either all in or I'm all out. I'm either completely into something or I just don't give a shit. I'm either passionate or indifferent. So I learned that I can choose what to be an addict for and into. My addictive mind doesn't give a shit what I'm addicted to, as long as I'm addicted to something. I'm a poly addict, not just a one single drug, but anything and everything. And I realized that what I was truly addicted to was not drugs, but a profound experience I wanted drugs that gave me something interstellar, something profound, something supernatural. Which is why I did some of the most crazy and intense stuff. The addiction itself was not unhealthy. The way I was experimenting, experiencing it, and using it was unhealthy. Desiring profundity, meaning, purpose, the extraordinary was not unhealthy. The way I was going about it was toxic and destructive. Love, drugs, sex, all these things break through the parameters of the normal human condition. They cause you to experience things that cannot be defined, related to anything else. They're completely in their own paradigm. I just want things that are extreme. I didn't care what it was. So again, I could choose what to be addicted to and what I was going to be involved with as I searched and sought for bigger desires, not getting rid of desires. And like a true addict, one led to another. I wanted more and more and more, and more profound, more extraordinary, more supernatural, more beautiful, more wonderful, more and more. This relentless tenacity is absolutely the mechanism that drove me to find God. Face to face, not some burning bush, white ambient light, nothing like that, but literally interacting with a very personal and intense relationship with a God power. And because I'm not happy, because I am, again, I see it as a blessing, the blessing of unhappiness, because I never want to be truly content overall in my life. I like peace and happiness. Who doesn't? Obviously, I'm built and designed to pursue that. That's the human condition. But I only want moments and episodes of it. I do not want to be permanently happy with the world ever. I want to loathe it because when I loathe it, it makes me lean towards the spiritual, not the material. I don't see anyone who's happy with material existence. I see people that think they are, people that act like they are, but when I sit down and talk with them for very long, no, they're not. They all have the same feeling that we all have, which is a subtle, nagging feeling there's something more and it's something missing. That is the nature of desire. The core of it is the soul saying, I want divine love and nothing else will do. Give me the food, give me the drugs, give me the sex, give me the love, give me the kids, give me the family, give me all that stuff. And no matter what you give me, I'm still going to say it's not enough. I want something that has nothing to do with that. We begin to hear this call, the beckoning to it, to pursue it. We want perfect happiness, perfect bliss, not temporary, not transitory, and not anything that could be better. Because no matter what matter what happiness we get, if it could be better, we want more. We want better. And again, I've exploited this in my spiritual pursuits, this hardwired genetic condition, innate condition that I have that I want more and I want better. So once again, spiritual peace was not enough. Like, I don't want that. That's going to be great for a while, but I want bliss. I want perfect bliss. I want anand bliss, divine bliss. I don't want just bliss. I want divine bliss, not celestial, not heavenly. I want divine bliss. and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get it. This is the blessings of unhappiness. When we embrace this and we appreciate what it does for us, how it motivates us, is when we truly start to take charge of our life. And until then, we're just wandering, lost, quite literally lost, wandering. I get little things popping up on my screen here. Let me get rid of this. And Randy, if you're there, if you like, you can join on the camera if you want. I see that you're here. Almost pressed close. Anyway, it's nice to have you here. Glad you made it. So I'm kind of a paradox again that as a private counselor living in a suburban community in a bedroom suburban community of very worldly people, good people where I lived, and they're coming with their problems, troubles with their marriage, with their kids, their family, their careers, and I'm there to solve that, fix their marriage, fix their parenting skills, et cetera, et cetera, have some success. But beneath all of this, I'm subtly layering in a bigger truth, slowly easing them in. Those who stuck around would come to their own conclusion and say, you know what? I think you've been hinting at something for a while. That even if I get these things that I came to see you to fix, it's not going to be enough. I want something deep. Yes, you do. It's because your soul is reaching out. That's what brought you to me, not your mind and your brain. So again, here I am teaching people to not just try to solve their unhappiness, but to embrace it, appreciate it, see the value of it, exalt, honor it, adore it. Now, doesn't that contradict itself? If I'm embracing and happy in my unhappiness, aren't I happy? Again, there's the paradoxical contradictions. Happy in my unhappiness. I guess I was something of a dark personality because in my younger years, I came up with this little perception that I thought was just kind of a quirky, quippy little cute, funny thing, but it was expressing a lot of what I felt. And I said that when people ask like, "What are you doing with your life? Where are you going? Like, what's your ambitions and all that?" And I'd say, "Well, I'm just passing time until I die, and so are you." That's all I ever start doing. We're just passing the time until we die. Since I had to pass the time here and I can't get out, then I want to make the most of it. We all do. All we're really trying to do, any of us, is trying to pass the time in a quality way to make it go by easier and quicker and more smooth. A really long, boring movie, a really boring movie seems to take forever to get through, but a really great movie goes by really fast. So same with life. A boring, trouble life takes forever and it feels like it's just dragging out. But a meaningful and adventurous life makes it go by quick. So I'm not an extreme adventure because I don't know. I'm not some Richard Branson. I don't know. I'm not any of these things that you read about. I've always done it simply because I'm bored. I'm friggin' bored. The world just offers me nothing but temporary, transitory happiness. So I need more and more and more because I'm an addict. So snorkeling wasn't enough. I had to go scuba diving. Scuba diving wasn't enough. So I had to go deep diving. Not deep as in deep gear. I'm saying like, down 100 feet. Had to go to see shipwrecks, go around the world. The downside is that now that I've done those things, my dive gear sits in the garage. I don't dive much, hardly at all, because unless it's going to be absolutely amazing, where I was in my last dive in Turks Caicos, I'm like, what's the point? And I've cursed my son with it too. Brandon's the same way. We talk about diving. He's like, Yeah, Dad, is that really worth it? Like, I don't want to go shore diving in Santa Monica. Screw that. Bad current, cold water, all that work for what? When I was younger, I was like, didn't matter. The best day, the worst day of diving was the best day of anything else. Now I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm not going through all that work. It's got to be good. It's got to be, I've experienced the best. I want this curse, especially spiritually, because the more experience spiritually, the more you want. This is a good addiction to have. So if addiction is incurable, it's a lifelong pathology, which I agree. And again, I'm not addicted to a particular drug of choice, DOC. I'm addicted to the profound, the mysterious, the powerful and extraordinary. I want something big. I want something that's going to blow my mind. And again, the danger is, as most extremists, and again, I don't think I am one, they want more and more and more and more. And eventually you see some of these extreme sports people and you're like, yeah, that dude's going to die. Literally, like I see one of these people, I'm like, he's amazing. I mean, like Honnold, the solo climber from Free Solo, he's absolutely mind blowing what this guy does. I love him. He's fun to watch. I mean, Free Solo movie was mesmerizing. One of the best films I ever saw. It makes you feel like, well, I'm a piece of shit. Like I'm doing nothing with my life. Look what this guy's fucking doing, right? I'm a piece of shit. I'm doing nothing. Look at this guy. And at the same time, makes you think like, what a total addict. He's a total junkie. Totally. And there's that motivation to want more. And again, I hope that he comes to full circle. This is what I'm most grateful for, that I've come full circle. As I've scuba dived around the world, I have been skydiving, I have been backpacking in the high Sierras. I've had some dangerous, crazy stuff. And I didn't do it for danger. I did things because I wanted to do them. They happen to be dangerous along the way, but I didn't do them for the danger at all. I'm trying to always avoid the danger. I don't scuba dive because it's dangerous, because I don't think it is. I scuba dive because it's peaceful. It's it's just such a mysterious environment. And there's very little risk in that sport when you do it properly. Backpacking the same way. I did it because it was peaceful, because I wanted to connect with nature. I happen to be in some very dangerous situations here and there, but that's not what I was doing it for. I take the risk along with the efforts that it takes to experience it. I don't just want to have an awareness of divinity, of peace, spiritual peace, unending bliss. I want to feel it. I want to experience it. I don't want it theoretically. I don't want it metaphorically. I want it actual, experientially. This is what I refer to as, in the mystical sense, the difference between mysticism and religion is that mysticism is a union, a joining of. Religion is an external experience. You're worshiping and you're honoring and you're playing by these rules, these dogmas, and it's profound. It's very valuable. Mystics, we want to be one with the experience. We want to absorb it, not just witness it. So people are coming to me to solve their problems, and I'm doing that in many ways. But part of the way I'm doing that is I'm telling them, like, guess what? You can't. You better be happy in your unhappiness, because even if you solve these things, there's going to be a whole bunch of others to be unhappy about because you're looking in the wrong place. The world cannot make you happy. It doesn't have it. That well is dry. You can't extract something from it that it does not have. It does not have perfect happiness. It has worldly happiness. Only divinity has divine happiness, which is eternal and infinite and exponential. ever increasing, expanding. It's an inevitable conclusion. Whether it's this lifetime or 10,000 more down the line, or when you had 10,000 lives ago, it's an inevitable conclusion that the world is not enough. You recognize this lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, one after the other. And yet, like a junkie, like an addict, you keep going back for more. How many times did I experience, holy shit, drugs are bad, always ends badly? In the beginning, it was here and there. In the beginning, it wasn't anything at all. It was always good. In the very beginning. Midway was like, half the time it's not that great. Like it ends up causing a lot of problems. And then eventually became 70-30. It eventually became 100% all bad. Too late. Now I'm already an addict. Now I'm so addicted that I can't just like say, oh, you know what? This is bad. I'm going to stop now. So even though you realize as an addict, as a material addict, an addict to materiality, that it's never going to end well, that it's always going to end up being bad in the long run, and even in the short run, you still go back for more. You keep thinking, yeah, but you know what? It's not the drug itself. It's me. I'm not doing it right. That's what was me with love and sex and passion and romance and drugs and everything else. Oh, it's not it. It's me. I'm not doing it right. I just got to do it better. So I'd polish and improve my ways of doing drugs. So I went from smoking it and snorting it to shooting it. Let me tell you, when you shoot drugs, it's a completely different animal. You realize, like, okay, this is not the same thing at all. This is head and shoulders, not just better. It's a completely different animal. Everything is pursuing more. And again, this is the benefit. No matter how many times you do it, we keep, like addicts, going back to the world and saying, you know what? It's not the world that's wrong. It's me. I'm not doing it right. I got to find the right soulmate girl person. I got to find the right movie to see. I got to find the right place to live. And I'm with you on all that. I got to do it too. I can't stop. I am trying to pursue worldly happiness because what else can I do? I'm stuck in the world of worldly phenomena. I'm here. What am I going to do? I know it's a waste of time, but I'm here and I can't get out. I got to pass the time until I die. And if I don't achieve liberation from mature reality, then I got to come back and do it again. So I'm not just passing the time until I die. I want to get it right. I want to solve, as the Buddha said, to end desiring you must to end suffering you must end desiring. And you can do this in this lifetime. His fourth noble truth. And you can do this in this lifetime. And he's not just saying you can, he's saying you better. Because you're going to keep doing this until you do. It does not stop. Some of my close spiritual brothers and sisters, just a couple of them that I'm very close to, that are very much on the path and really kind of get the philosophies. We kind of joke with each other and talk about how our guru has cursed us by opening our eyes to the absolute truth, undeniably, scientifically, wisely, practically, knowledgeably, not just theoretically, not just an opinion. Explain it all in such unavoidable detail that's just sensible and reasonable. We're all like, yeah, the world is shit. It ain't going to get any better. And it's like it's not going to work. And again, once you've had that great drug, I can't. Once I shot up cocaine, I could go back snorting it. Just couldn't do it. It wouldn't affect me. So again, the curse that every time you get something better, as you grow spiritually, even you just want more, and that means that everything that you had before becomes completely useless to you. You're indifferent. To be put in the crudest terms, sex is great no matter how you do it. Even bad sex is pretty good. It's better than no sex usually. Well, usually can be. But what do we want? We want an orgasm. We want to have a pinnacle achievement. We want to have a pinnacle achievement and experience. If you knew you were not going to have that going into the sexual experience, you'd be like, I don't really want to go through that teasing. I don't really want, we want the payoff. We're willing to do the work. And it's always fun along the way for sure. But we want the payoff. We don't need to stop desiring. We don't need to stop the human condition. We need to take advantage of it and shift its direction. This is what the Buddhas, gurus, and sages have been telling us for millennia. Such a central part of my guru's teachings is where he departs from the Buddhist path. The Bhakti path separates when it says, you can't stop desiring. You're a desiring machine. That's going to happen. Don't even try. You're wasting your time. Especially in Kali Yuga. It ain't going to happen. You're working on 8% of your brain power in Kali Yuga. You can't pull something like that off. Instead, shift your desires. Be an addict, but choose what you're addicted to. I'm telling you, the game changer in my addiction recovery, absolute game changer, was when I realized that I can't stop being an addict, but I can choose what to be addicted to. I've been a great father. I've had a stellar relationship with my son, with Brandon. He's become a pretty great man. I've had successful businesses. I was a great partner in loving relationships because I wanted to be the best. I wanted the best of those things. I wanted the shot in the arm, IV, full-blown hit of those things, not just some little dabble smoking experience of them. I wanted the full thing. And same with my spirituality. I want the pinnacle the most. So this is the blessings of unhappiness, is motivation. We want to avoid wallowing in the senselessness of unhappiness. Instead, convert it to allow us and motivate us to do something about it. Checking something. All of my worldly experience and adventures, which are many and are unrivaled, are completely born out of my discontent within and without. I wouldn't have it any other way. And again, I'm lighting a dark candle instead of cursing the darkness. But I'm also going to remind about the darkness. That once you begin this pursuit of greater happiness, it doesn't stop. And so again, even though I am eternally grateful, I can't imagine not knowing spiritual truth the way that I do. It's my existence now. But I also recognize the irony that God has cursed me, because now I can never, now that he's shown me divine love, give me a tiny taste of it, like that first little taste of heroin that somebody gets. It's all I want. I can't be sold for anything else. Again, this is what heroin dealers do. Heroin dealers will give you, kind of like stores will do. They'll give you something away, something to get you to taste it, right? Then you have to, then there comes a pop-up ad. Now you got to subscribe. I mean, I click on some article from like, I don't know, the New York Times or something, and I'm reading like, then in the middle of it, within a few sentences, I got to pop, and I'm not subscribing to your shit. I just want to read an article on a fucking news story. got to make the commitment. And again, the sages, the Buddhas, the masters, my guru, the curse is that while they give you the truth, illuminate and enlighten you and give you a sense of an awareness and a bliss that is unrivaled and unmatched, it simultaneously comes with side effects may include worldly loathing, discontent, an inability to be happy with the worldly paradigm. Side effects may include, side effects will include, not may, will include. This is, again, the indication, as people often will wonder and ask me, how do I know if I'm making spiritual progress? I say, well, are you happy? They say, yeah. Well, then you're not. You're clearly not making progress if you're happy. And again, I'm capable of happiness all the time. I wake up in a pretty good mood. I enjoy my coffee. I'm smiling. I mean, I have a good sense of humor. I don't think people look at me and think that I'm a dark, foreboding, cynical individual. Yet I am, because I generally know how to laugh and tell a joke and have a good time. And I really do. And I'm not faking it. But again, simultaneously, I am always aware, ever aware, the world is shit. Again, only in divine phenomena do we experience true paradox. In the world, it's black or white, cold or hot. In the divine realm, things are combined together. You experience things simultaneously. For every ounce, what's the saying that Franklin had? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Wait, right? What is it? What is it? Yeah, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Because when you prevent things, you're avoiding the big thing. We got to look at the bigger picture. What do we want? What are we willing to do for it? We do this every day. The world is a training ground, constantly reminding us and showing us, illustrating, demonstrating practically every day what its message is. And again, my guru teaches us, he says, Maya is your friend. Because Maya will never let you forget that Maya is crap and you don't want it. No matter how great it gets, it's always going to kick you a little bit. Always going to remind you that it's never going to give you what you truly want. That's your friend. Maya is your friend to never let you feel happy for too long, to make you constantly searching for more. But again, the caution is that it comes with a curse, the blessing and the curse. The blessing is you see the truth, become motivated. And again, as the Buddha walked out and saw suffering, as he left the palace the first time and saw age, illness, poverty, and in that moment, dedicated his existence to finding a way out. And he went through years of misery to attain it. Again, we do this every day. The model is the perfect world. We get up, we work, we struggle, we strive, we suffer. And for what? So that at the end of a long, hard day or a whole long, hard week, we have what? You realize on a Saturday when you're watching something or you're relaxing, maybe watching a football game, whatever, and you're like, so this is what I did all this shit for? So I could like sit here and do nothing? Oh, so I could go on a vacation. Oh, that's good. Yes, it is. But again, even on vacations, even going wild, exotic places, there's a part of me that's kind of like, is this it? Is this all this is amazing. Like, I mean, I was in Japan and I'm like, oh my God, look, I'm in Japan. Like, this is amazing. I'm having an exotic experience. And yet, what I'm seeing on one of the walks I took through the city of Kyoto is you think people here are buried in their cell phones? Oh my God. And I know how they do it. They literally don't run into you, but none of them are even looking. I see 4 or 5 people walking side by side together, little groups of kids and adults. And every one of them is looking into their phone, never even talking to each other. Every one of them. And I'm like, Doesn't matter where I go in the world. It's the same thing. I'm in this exotic, beautiful country that's in Kyoto, where it's very spiritual and Buddhist, and it's absolutely amazing. And yet, it's all the same. Shopping malls, neon lights, and cell phones. That's it. And again, I'm having a simultaneous paradoxical experience. I am laughing my ass off at how mundane and shallow and shitty it is around the world. And yet I'm simultaneously like, oh my God, I'm in fucking Japan walking down. This is beautiful. It's amazing. Like, here am I in this exotic place. What an adventure. You gotta take the bad with the good, best you can. And convert the bad into your motivation. It's there for a reason. It's your fuel to allow you to seek and want more. Again, happy in my unhappiness. Again, the human condition. I also pursue happiness and avoid pain. Pursue pleasure and avoid pain, for sure. I can't help it. I'm a stupid human. But again, it's the perspective, the motivation. And same thing again when we go to work and go to a job we don't necessarily like. We do because we want a bigger payout. We go because we want something as a result of it. Otherwise, we never do it. If your job told you weren't going to get paid, you wouldn't go. You absolutely wouldn't go. It's like, no, I want to be paid so that I can use this to do something I want to do. That's the exchange. To suffer for a reason. I'm going to jump back into Project Addiction for a minute. I was asked once in an interview in this big book that solves addiction, what's it all mean? Like, what would you say to somebody that if you had to give them the central truth? So the entire book, this big thick book, it's smaller than Within the Portal. It's still pretty thick. So if people read only one or two chapters in the entire book of my recovery system, it's Pleasure versus Fulfillment, chapter 20, and chapter 21, Spirituality and Recovery, which is not a preaching, oh, find God, surrender to Jesus kind of thing. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. The entire book, you could get everything out of it in this 1 to 2 chapters. And I'm going to be able to read this entire chapter because it's just 1.5 pages. Pleasure versus fulfillment. Everything starts off with a quote. I always do in all my books. You're entirely bonkers, but I'll tell you a secret. All the best people are. There's Carol Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, the quotes in this book are all Alice in Wonderland stuff, almost all of it. Drug addiction is a symptom of the disease of unfulfillment. Happiness and fulfillment are different. Happiness is an emotional sense of pleasure. Pleasures are transient and incomplete. Fulfillment is an emotional and intellectual feeling of being whole and complete. Fulfillment has longevity. Happiness is featured within fulfillment, but fulfillment is not necessarily a feature of happiness. Pleasure, happiness appeals to your senses, but fulfillment appeals to your spirit. To feel happy, we must acquire and experience, but to feel fulfilled, we must achieve and accomplish. Fulfillment goes deep. It continues to evolve after the actual event that began it. So long as anyone remains devoid of feeling fulfilled, they will unconsciously seek simple pleasures as an alternative: sex, drugs, food. Once fulfillment is experienced, it becomes the priority and totally eclipses the desire for pleasure or happiness. Discovering fulfillment requires the same effort and experimentation as seeking pleasure does. However, it takes more patience and endurance. Pleasures abound, they're common, but fulfillment is specific and precise and requires perseverance and tenacity. As you contemplate and search for fulfillment experiences, consider these qualifications. Does it require sacrifice to accomplish it? Does it appeal to the emotion and mind or just the senses? Is there a sense of actual passion regarding it? Does it affect other living things in a positive way? These are a few common ingredients of fulfilling endeavors. Fulfillment, the cure for addiction and pleasure seeking. Addiction is often a coping mechanism used to compensate for a biochemical deficiency or some previously experienced trauma, such as abuse, pain, or shame. An addiction is usually a tool to escape from them or avoid the memory or awareness of some prior trauma. This is true, but we can add a finer dimension to it. I was never traumatized, and yet I'm an addict. I've always sensed that life, even when luxurious and happy, has nagging limitations to it. And no matter what I acquire, I'll eventually realize that all I acquire is futile. Complacency is an inevitability to pleasure. Oh, that's a big statement. Complacency is an inevitability to pleasure. When I was first exposed to helping others and creating something personal and meaningful, I felt whole, complete, deep. I realized what I truly craved and needed was the untapped and dormant potential to make a contribution to the world in some way. I personally need to serve others and humanity to feel fulfillment. We all need to feel fulfilled. If we don't if we don't feel fulfilled, we will seek pleasure as a convenient substitute. The panacea to drugs is to heed the calling of your spirit to contribute in some way. Be a help, not a hindrance, or even just neutral. We're either part of the problem or part of the solution. How do we hear the call of our spirit? Meditate, pray, seek, want, and need it as badly or even more deeply than you want dope, ice cream, or money, and it will reveal itself. The answer is inside, deep in your heart, spirit, and mind. The answer is there. We don't need to cause it, to create it, or have it created. We need to uncover it. Allow yourself to need it and beg for it to be revealed to you. It already belongs to you. So you don't need to get permission to review it. It's yours. Go toward the silence inside. Quiet the outer world in its BS, brainwashing, and subterfuge. Don't seek it, allow it. I know it sounds cryptic and ethereal. I assure you, it only seems that way because you try to view or touch it with conventional seeing or touching. Feel your way. Don't touch or see or smell it. Those senses have often misled you. Your brain will mislead you too. You think with your brain, but you feel with your mind. Brain and mind are different. Brain tissue is brain tissue and brain is tissue and it is body and it is human. But mind is spirit, thought, and feeling and is very into the soul. Get beyond yourself. The pleasure versus fulfillment context and concept became the cornerstone of my recovery process for people, what they came to seek me out for, that no one else was teaching them. And again, we can transfer this to every part of our lives, because we're all addicts, one way or the other. Food, drugs, pleasure, sex, love, I don't care what it is. And this is the switch that I would turn on for many people. Men and women that never did drugs or had alcohol. Didn't have any issues with them, didn't even knew them. And they realized, working with me for a while, they'd be like, oh my God, I'm an addict too. Shopping, entertainment. Pick your poison. We're all pursuing happiness in a material sense. And that's the addiction. The addiction is material happiness. And addictions never end well. And here I am encouraging spiritual addiction, contradicting and saying it never ends well. This is the only one that can eventually end well. The only thing I learned from addiction was to not be an addict. The only thing it taught me. All the drugs I did and all the things I went through. And I hear all these 12 steppers and all these people saying their recovery. Well, I'm kind of grateful because it taught me so much. Like, yeah. But you could have skipped all that. When I was a child, my mom said, don't do drugs, they're bad for you. I wasn't like, no, I bet you're wrong. I believed her. I did them anyway. She wasn't wrong. She was very simple. She never did drugs or anything else. I know a lot of people like this, non-addicts, people that don't even have the tendency. And they're right. They're like, you know what? I'm like, why didn't you ever experiment with drugs? And they're like, because they're stupid, because they're bad. I mean, what are you, senseless? You're a very intelligent guy. How did you not know this? I'm like, I don't know. You're right. I'm pretty smart. And yet I fell right into that. We're all addicts pursuing material happiness and pleasure instead of fulfillment, which can only be attained through strife and struggle and sacrifice to something bigger that's ideal, something deeper, more profound. Everything else comes back home to its base, which is unhappiness and discontent. We're going to wrap up. Any questions or comments? Is that because I'm very thorough or because it's just not that interesting?
Pretty thorough.
Yeah, as you know, Chloe, I often get accused of that I can be kind of wordy and verbose. And Randy and I were sharing this in an email recently too, talking about how we both can like kind of go on with dialogues. But
I can
I've
too.
learned the hard way that I've got to be very thorough because it's not enough to be understood. It's far more important to not be misunderstood. That's critical in communication. I heard this when I was young. One of the few things my father said to me that was wisdom, and I don't know where he got it. It's not enough to be understood. It's far more important to not be misunderstood. So I am thorough and I cover a lot of ground because I'm trying to answer the questions that people would have before they ask them. Because me, I'm that hyper-minded, nagging piece of shit when I'm watching things and I'm seeing the one thing in a movie or a documentary, I'm like, wait a minute, what about this thing? How did you skip over that? What is that? And that's all I want to know now. And it's not some little thing. Something that's very important that they just kind of passed over. I'm like, you can't do that. And that's when I just turn it off. I'm like, I'm done with you. Can't respect you, you know? So, and again, some people hear what I'm doing and they're like, this guy just goes on too much. But here's my new kind of perspective of that. I came up with a little catchphrase, I think, where I'm still evolving and polishing it. There's a difference between talking a lot and talking too much. I know a lot of people that talk too much. They don't say anything. They're not saying anything. It's just jibber jabber. That's talking too much. Talking a lot simply means you have a lot to say. I'm okay with listening to anybody that goes on a lot. Just don't want them to talk too much about things that don't matter or things that aren't relevant. So I'm okay with, generally, I think that I'm pretty guilty of talking a lot, but I don't think I'm very guilty of talking too much. That being said, let's wrap it up. It's been a little over an hour now. I better shut up now. Got to know when to get out. So we're entering into this holiday season, and we've got a guru series coming up, and we're going to begin that. I can't, it's hard to choose which topics because I've got so many that I'm just brimming at the top with. I want to share so much of other things, but this is a central point, and I think we have to take advantage of this holiday season as we enjoy the Yeshua, the Christ celebration of a guru master of Western religions. And we get to dive into this and destroy a lot of the myths, explore a lot of the fictions, which, as I've always said, I don't know why biblical scholars and founders and authors change the story. The true, authentic story of Yeshua the Christ is far more fascinating, illuminating, and inspiring than the fictional one. Most of it is accurate and correct, but the few things they change, I'm like, why would you change those? Oh my God, that's like the best part. And they did it for their pragmatic and dogmatic reasons because they wanted some control, which we're going to go into. And so again, I think that what people find enjoyable when I talk about these issues, these concepts, is that I'm not throwing Christianity under the bus at all. I love Christianity. It's true core of it. I'm not a big fan of religions and dogmas and organized religions for sure, but I also respect that these are necessary, and I wouldn't say evils. They're necessary. And when people get involved, you got to be able to accommodate and you got to teach them the basics. Don't do any harm. Be good. Be kind. They need the dogmas. So we're going to have an opportunity to delve into the guru concept. And again, the West, this is very important because Western people, spiritual Western people, they reject this, and for good reason. In the East, they're far more accepting of the guru concept because it's been there since the inception of these regions of the world. In the West, we've all been misled. By the time you get to an adult age, you've seen the hypocrisy of religions and organized religion. You're thinking, you know what? I don't want nothing. I don't know what's true, what's not. I can't trust anything they say. You lied to me once, shame on you. You lied to me twice, shame on me. So I can't go back into that. I can't go down that tunnel anymore. So they shot themselves in the foot. Western religions are destroying themselves by being hypocritical for so long and creating fictions that eventually people are going to find out. And again, once you find out what's fiction, as people are, they're like, okay, well, what else are you lying about? I mean, when I was 7 years old and I'm finding truths to what I'm learning in so-called church, and we're saying so-called because it was not a formal church, but I went and I was like 7, 8 years old. I'm like, okay, if you're lying about that, then what else are you lying about? I can't trust anything you say. So you're full of shit. I'm going to find my own way. And this is what the baby goes out with the bathwater. As people reject the dogmatic parts of the religions, they miss the core. And I'll be doing a lot of quoting from Yeshua. Some of my favorite quotes, which are so many, such as, turn over a stone and there I am. Reminding us that he's inviting us to look deeper. He doesn't say, again, as I often quote, knocking and it shall be open to you, seeking you shall find. Not sit on your ass and I'll come to you. Seeking you shall. He's inviting us and demanding and saying, look, come and find me and you'll find the true me, the divinity, not the stories. My rejection of Western dogmas is what inspired me to look deeper because I wanted to defeat them in debate as a child. I wanted to be able to have conversations with religious people and say, you know what, and shut them down to show how hypocritical they were. But to do that, I had to be a scholar. I had to learn so I could beat them at their own game. And as I studied, I found the truth. I found the core of the religions and the core of these teachings, and they were beautiful. So we're going to go into the guru concept. And again, the misfortune that in the West, people struggle with the guru concept of having a spiritual leader, master, or teacher because of the lies and hypocrisy they've seen by churches and organizations, which are not the same thing. I hate to say it so crudely, but Christ would be rolling around in his grave if he saw what was happening to his own religion nowadays. And he was then. He was trying to keep it. He knew it was going to happen. He's not in a grave, but you know what I mean. So we get to enjoy this concept and see that there are many gurus and masters, not just one. And it doesn't matter which one you follow if it's true and genuine. And again, we're going to the concept that everything that we've learned is from a teacher. Tying your shoes, paying your bills, walking and talking was taught to you from an outside source. You combined that with your own intuition and sense and reason and experience. That's how you became knowledgeable. Again, the baby's being thrown out of the bathwater. As people pursue spiritual truth and seek inner spirituality, they're neglecting and discarding the fact that this very concept came to them from an outside source. And they are missing out on the one thing they cannot get from within, and that is grace, the divine power that gets transmitted from divinity to us in the materiality. No matter how much inner searching and seeking you do not have divine grace. It has to be given to you, bestowed upon you. And this is what the guru concept is all about. Surrender to me, and I will be your savior. I'll take care of you. So we get to go into these series of the guru concepts, which I think should be fun to talk about. All right. In the meantime, have a great holiday weekend. Try not to kill any turkeys. Mine are all in the neighborhood here. I got turkeys all over the place. They're all very, very happy. They know they're being, they know they get immunity.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you both for being here.
Yep. Thank
Nice meeting you, Randy. You and I will talk again soon, okay?
Bye. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.